Welcome to Upstream Ahead Virtual Summit 2022.
Welcoming everyone to session 2 of day 2. Here, the esteemed speakers are going to speak about strengthening the service sector in India with a focus on indigenization. And for this, we have the chair for the session, Ms. Chaitali Datta. Ms. Chaitali Datta has more than 34 years of experience in various capacities and in different areas of upstream oil industry, including onshore, offshore. She also has around 10 years of overseas experience in ONGC Videsh. She was head of subsea completions and has rich experience in this area. At present, she is on the board of Northeast Transmission Co. as a director. Ma'am, may I kindly ask you to commence the session, please?
Mute.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
So, thank you for that warm introduction, Chandrima. And so now, dear eminent and dignified speakers, the esteemed delegates, the revered representation of the host companies, and the organizing committee members, a very warm welcome to you all with good wishes for this morning and this session. The theme of this session is strengthening of E&P service sector in India with a focus on indigenization. So before I start the session, I would just request the speakers to please restrict yourself on the allotted time of 15 minutes so that all the other sessions fall back on time. We have got about 5 speakers today. And the opening speaker of this session is Dr. Anand Gupta. Dr. Gupta, you have all heard him yesterday as he was chairing the session, but today he is there as a speaker. And I would like to introduce him first. Dr. Anand Gupta is currently holding the post of Additional Director General in Development in Directorate General of Hydrocarbon, that is DGH, under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. He is an accomplished petroleum engineer with over 33 years of experience in production operation, R&D, and corporate in ONGC. He will be sharing his experience on Northeast Hub. So with this brief introduction of Mr. Gupta, I would now invite him for his talk. Mr. Gupta, please.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for this introduction, and thank you to the organizers for providing this opportunity for presenting this concept of E&P service sector hub in Northeast. And in fact, this presentation was done a few months back at Assam. We have tried to follow it up along with the way forward what was discussed over there. And we are currently in the process of preparing a small feasibility report so that actually this idea is implemented on the ground in Northeast. And why we have selected actually Northeast, because Northeast being logistically little isolated, and in the years to come, the kind of services which is going to increase over there with the new workload coming up over there in terms of OLP, DSFs, and all other kind of round, including the vast exploration which is taking place. It will be very important that a concept of service hub is put over there, and this is actually materialized. So I will be quickly presenting some of the issues, and some of the people who are actually in this panel were partner of this presentation, which was prepared earlier and being discussed over there. Mr. Jayant Malhotra immensely contributed when we were working on this issue. Next, please. So as all of you are aware that field services are very critical for the E&P industry. These contribute almost 60% of the total E&P cost when the services are provided. Globally, E&P service providers have played a very key role in the successes. And in fact, the kind of technologies which they have brought actually have been implemented by the operators and has led to successes and finding oils, ensuring that surface and subsurface risks are minimized, and finally these are put on production. E&P operators in India rely significantly on oil field service providers, and with the kind of commitment which is now coming from the E&P operators, and just few minutes back we were discussing that as part of our work, We are also trying that, some of the stranded fields which were closed for quite some time, the issues have been resolved, and these are moving forward for monetization and production. With that kind of things coming up, it will be very important, that services are also brought, and required atmosphere is given to them in terms of providing the services in time-bound manner. Next, please. So in terms of if we see the stakeholders, three stakeholders which we call, that is government, E&P operators, and service companies, they all get benefited if the service sector is promoted in the country. Government brings the foreign investment, raise capital growth, technologies are brought and provided, that are transferred, employment opportunities are given, skills are acquired, revenue is created, industrial diversification is there. It helps in providing, increasing the local content, and social growth is there. For E&P operators, they get access to the technologies, latest technologies, trained manpower from the services is available, efficient procurement of equipment and services is done by them, and finally cost reduction, which is very important, is provided. And service companies, they bring, if the economy of scale is there, it helps in reducing the cost of operations. It brings the revenue to them, and enhanced understanding and working environment in the India is over there. And we have seen that some of the countries like Nigeria, UAE, Malaysia, Singapore have promoted their oil field services sector, and they are getting the benefits, through development and increasing the production and operations over there. Next, please. So in some, as all of you may be aware, that oil field equipment and services are offered in different areas. This includes the high-end rigs, well engineering, well construction technologies, testing, intelligent completion. Now smart artificial lift mechanisms have come. Reservoir management tool, including intelligent management tools, are available. Digital solutions, land development for new wells, well intervention and production enhancement is there. Technologies are there. 2D, 3D seismic surveys, and various measurement technologies are available from the service sectors. Next, please. Next, please. So just to put a little context with respect to the Northeast production, what we have seen that in the last few years, essentially the oil production and the gas production has seen a basically stable trend. This is in spite of that, all of us very well knowing that there is ample opportunities over there. And the highest production which we achieved in oil, if you see the left side bar chart, was about 4.39 MMT in 2017-18. After that, it has declined, and 2021 we could achieve only 3.95 million ton. And in terms of the upper chart shows in terms of the overall country's production which is coming over there, in terms of gas production, we achieved the highest production in 2018-19 of 4.87 BCM. There are about 21 companies which are operating over there. There is about 30,000 square kilometer, which is under petroleum exploration licenses. 11,000 square kilometer, the area is there in PML. And total MMTOE, that oil plus oil equivalent gas, was 8.6%, 8.6 MMTOE, which is 15% of total domestic production. Next, please. So these are the companies, and these are few actually over there. And this is the kind of areas and blocks which they are holding. There are two national oil companies, ONGC and Oil India. ONGC holds 43 blocks over there. Oil India holds 39 blocks over there. Geo and Pro, a small operator, Kharsang, operating one field over there. HOEC 2 fields. Vedanta 13 blocks and fields because they are operating OLP also. Invenair 1 DSF blocks. Mega Engineering 1, Indian Oil 2. Oilmax 2, Ramayana Ispat is also having 2 blocks, and Jubilant 1 block. This is some of the information which is available with respect to some of these companies. Next, please. So what? And these are the service companies which are available, and some of them are present over here. Schlumberger is there, Baker Hughes, Weatherford, Expro, Halliburton, United Drilling, Quipo, Parveen Industries, John Energy, and Mega Engineering. All of them are providing different kind of services, right from drilling, production, completion, well intervention, decommissioning, and then kind of construction. Some of the companies are providing the various kind of equipments, like Parveen is providing the walls, various kind of tools, and different other kind of things over there. So they are all present over there. The idea is to bring them together and how we can help them out for this endeavor. Next, please. So considering, the kind of thing and the plan which has been prepared, we have seen, we have planned that in the next 3 years, by 24-25, there will be substantial increase in terms of oil production from the current level of 3.95 MMT to 6.85 MMT. And the three bricks which you see are basically with respect to the contribution from Oil India, ONGC, and PSC and RSC regime. With the DSF fields getting monetized, OLP blocks getting monetized, the contribution from PSC and RSC regime is expected to increase substantially in the years to come. So we expect to see a growth of about 73% in the next 3 years. In gas production, we expect to see a growth of about 126%. That is from 4.68 BCM to 10.6 BCM. And here also you can see the contribution will be coming. And Oil India has got a substantial plan for increasing the production. And ONGC also has got a plan for increasing the production over there. So overall, in terms of O plus OEG, there will be about 100% increase that is expected to be doubled. So from almost 8.6 MMTOE, it is expected to be doubled to 17.4 MMTOE. Next, please. So what we have tried to see that in terms of service contractor related activities by 24-25, we expect that the area is expect to increase from the 30,000 square kilometer to 60,000 square kilometers in terms of exploration. We expect that about 250 exploratory wells and 350 development wells will be there. About 1,500 cementing jobs will be there. 1,000 well logging jobs will be there. And various other kind of services, including slick line, coil tubing, wire lines, all will be there, including the intensification of conventional and advanced seismic surveys. And we are expecting that almost $4 billion of investment will be there in next 4 to 5 years. So that shows a kind of, opportunities which are available in the Northeast for improving the activities. Next, please. So the kind of challenges and the service hub concept and what kind of benefits we can have, this slide shows over there. As I mentioned in the beginning that there are logistics challenges. So if we can bring all the services at one place, it will be useful. Different services providers currently use different locations and there is no established infrastructure. There is increased cost of services to E&P companies and the new technology induction is becomes little difficult or unviable. So the service concept hub objective is to streamline the services, making them cost efficient and accessible. The concept finally what we are proposing that OFS providers and equipment manufacturers can set up their place at one single location. There will be facilities available over there. The operating model will be in terms of lease available from the state government on a predefined rates and utilities will be charged on the defined rate. And each operator would contract separately with the designated agencies. So the expected benefits are in terms of revenues because government will get revenues from our place in terms of rentals, taxation and statutory royalties. There will be growth of MSME industries because once the service is at one place, it can work as a hub and then small scale industries for the support can be created. There will be economic and infrastructure development over there. Skill developments will be there because, at one place, then these kind of things can be developed. It will also help in terms of ease of doing business and improving the rankings over there. And then CSR activities jointly can also be organized. It will also help in bringing the latest technologies and it will help in reducing the operating costs in the fields of Northeast region, which is very important in order to have cost effective production from there. Next, please. So what we have tried, and these are the prerequisites which we are discussing with the state government and Assam government is quite keen that this kind of hub is created over there. We have already discussed some of the places have already been seen and we have zeroed down to a place. So the requirement is essentially in terms of leveled land of about 100 to 150 acres. Basic amenities can be provided, which is in terms of roads, electricity, water, fuel, security in one area. Access to the government cleared transport companies so that logistics is made easier. Effluent treatment is one important aspect, including the waste disposal that is required, which is to be created. And if we are able to provide single essentiality certificate program for the equipment imported for the E&P activities in the Northeast, it will be useful. There is requirement with respect to the hotels or hospitality area, including the healthcare facility in the nearby. And access to the training facilities for expanding and upskilling the resource base. So all these are the requisites over there, which, as I mentioned, is currently under discussion, and we expect that shortly some kind of understanding will be created. We have already identified the area, and then remaining formalities along with the state of Assam is under discussion. We expect to complete this idea into a reality shortly. So I just thought that I'll share on this platform. And thank you very much to the organizers for giving this opportunity. And I look forward for intensive presentations which are going to come shortly, followed. Thank you very much. Thank you to the chair for this opportunity. Thank you. Yeah, I am done.
Thank you. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Yeah, you can close it here.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta, for your very consolidated and thought-provoking talk regarding the way forward in service sector at northeastern states. Thank you so much. Our next speaker in the session is Mr. Amit Desai. Mr. Desai has been working in ONGC for the last 33 years. He is a dribbling technocrat by profession and has served across all the areas of exploration and exploitation. He will be talking on the current practices and expected way forward in E&P. Mr. Desai, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, all. Respected Chaitali, Dutta ma'am, and just my focus is mainly on the technology development and what are the practices that presently followed and technology inducted. Now, I will start my presentations. Is it visible?
Yes, you are visible.
Yeah, okay. So actually, my presentation starts with what is the industry focus in the upstream. We have to, as in earlier session, it has been told that we have to mainly focus on the people. So our people comes first, and we have to care for them by virtue of the safety, healthy, and wellness of the people. Then only we can able to sustain the production operations in the upstream company, especially in the drilling field. We have to adapt the processes for the new normals, by virtue of which we can able to induct the technologies. We have to support the nations by virtue of making the Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is a vision of our Prime Minister, and further comply all government guidelines as it is required. Now, if we see our world's energy growth is the fastest energy market, and we know that hydrocarbon may not sustain for a long time. In the India, we have almost 26 sedimentary basins with the in place of 230 billion barrels of oil equivalents across these basins. And India being the third largest energy consumer of the world after China and US, it needs to explore more and more exploitations is required. Now, out of this 26 sedimentary basins, only 48% of the current sedimentary basins is explored, are yet to be explored. Now, if you see the future, the present share of the natural gas is, as it has been told, that we have an energy mix of presently only 6% of gases we are mixing in oil and oil equivalent gas. But the aiming is towards the 15% by 2030. Now, in this, some keynotes has been given by our MOPNG, which sets the domestic targets of 40 million metric tons of the crude oil and 50 BCM by 23-24 from the 27 identified basins by different NOCs and IOCs across it. Where it had been told that we have to main focus towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat by inducting the multinationals to come in India and establish their own offices over here, and we can able to stop the draining out our offshore action plan. We have basically increased the train in 23-24. Just side of it, there is an action plan of the offshores, which is just I'm reflecting, where it has been presently, it is a 14.77 in action plan was planned. But if you see in the action plan in 23-24, it is a 15.506 million metric ton from the offshore field itself. Similarly, if you see in the gas also, we are increasing in the same trend. Now we have established, based on the roadmap which has been given by the MOPNG, we have established that we have to drill almost 592 development wells, and in financial year 22-23, and in 23-24, 490 development wells. To explore 129 exploratory wells has to be drilled, and 131 exploratory in 23-24 exploratory wells has to be drilled. Similarly, if you see now to achieve this, in present scenario, what is the workload we have and what is the fleet we have? That is the rig fleets we have. We have almost onshore 60 rigs is working, and then offshore 33 rigs is working. Where it is, if you see that 29s are jackups, and 3 floaters and 1 semi in the offshore. Whereas if you see in the differentiation on the type of rigs, and the ONGC owned rigs is almost 59 ONGC owned rigs is working, where 51 is on the land and 8 is on the offshore. Whereas in the chartered hire front, which plays a very major role of in offshore, it is a 25 chartered hire rigs is working with the 9 ONGC owned rigs. In the 21-22 itself, you see the number of wells what we are drilling. It is a 53 exploratory by the offshore fields or onshore fields, and a 25 by the exploratory by the offshore fields. Whereas in the development front, we have a 275 wells of the onshore and 37 wells of the offshore, and a 44 sidetracks also planned in the also drilled in the offshore fields. Now, if you see what measure contributes basically. Now, this is if I will take a typical well, it contributes almost more than 77% of the cost is from the service provider. That is, the rig cost is almost 56% of the well cost is a rig cost, where in the case of the offshore, where it is we are majority rely on the chartered hire rigs. So that is also a service cost. As well as the ONGC rigs is also providing the services to the assets and basin. So if you see the 77% of the cost comes from the service, and only the 23% cost is of the material. The chart on the left and right shows the cost per meter in terms of the onshore exploratory. The trend shows it is decreasing almost 1.39 lakhs rupees per meter, whereas in the onshore development, it is almost 0.59 lakhs rupees per meter. The offshore costing, definitely it is higher, but the production is more from there. So it is this in the, if you see in the exploratory, it is 3.95, whereas in the development, it is coming around 2.2. So by virtue of this, we have to hire some technologies to reduce this cost as the production needs to be increased. Sorry. Yeah, so look ahead. We have to establish certain really challenges parts are there. We have to go for the holistic integrated project management which leads to a easier to visualize, stimulate, and executes, by virtue of which we can able to get the outcome which has been envisaged by Ministry of Petroleum and Gas. For which the challenges are ultra deep waters, HPST, ultra shallow waters, Production sustainability is mainly from the brownfields. We know that all zones are depleted. Now we have to complete all projects on time, no spillover, then only we can able to sustain. The complexity as the fields become brown, the complexity is more. So more advanced tool and specialized tools is needed. We are dependent on them. And it involves more type of multiple contractors. So if we will integrate it, definitely the responsibility and risk pass through it, and we can able to get win-win situations in both the way. Now, if you see the technology evolutions in the ONGCs, there are different fronts are there. I have projected some of the few fronts in the technology, like inducting of the RSS, UBD, web stocks, USRDH, that is ultra short radius technology, slot recovery. Now that is a service part what we have introduced. Now in terms of the drilling fluids also, right from CLCLS initially, we are presently moving towards the MMO and microbubble, which I will just elaborate in a few slides. Now in terms of the digitalizations, real-time data analytics is already introduced in the offshore fields. We have a data banking systems, uniform DPR, projectized approach, as well as in terms of the some of the process improvements like drill bit selections, mass draggings, and the rotating scalpels, which leads to reduce the leads to efficient drillings. So just I will start with the technology inductions like drill bit technology. It is a very common thing. It is by virtue of UCS, we just find out that what are the, where, because it is a multi-layered reservoirs, we have to find out that what are the UCS values by virtue of just tweaking the design of the bits, we can able to drill so to so. So this is some example. Every run has its own analysis by virtue of the cross plots. They are part of the different ROP versus depths, and that has been, every run has been identified, and ultimately it leads to design and a good. The example of this part in 2007, we have a difficulty to drill the Bandra formations of the offshore field in the Hira, where we used to drill around 10 to 12 meters per hour. Just we have tweaked the bit design with the same set of the BHA, we can able to drill at almost 20 to 25 meters per hour. Now, this is the technology inductions, what we have increased the section length of the per bit and increase the ROP plus enhance the reach also. So right from 2004 to 2000 C, there's if you see the black curve, how one by one induction of technology leads to enhance our reach plus drill the bigger section length in 12 quarter-inch sections. That is bit optimizations from 2005 to 2006. Then we have switched over from WO to SOBM. In all cases, we were drilling with the RSS. In 2008, we can able to drill at the highest ROP. And then further, we have put up because there was an issue of the hydraulics, and we have changed the string from 5 inch to 5.5 inch. That leads to, can able to give us the good amount of GPM in 17.5 inch and able to drill the 17.5 inch section at almost more than 75-degree angle. And further, in 2009 onwards, we were drilling with the controlled ROP at around 40 to 45 meters per hour. Now, another technology what we have inducted is a UBD technology, that is underbalanced drilling, which is a really good inducted technology for providing the solution to the brownfields, where we have a higher mud losses and almost the formation pressure is equivalent to 3.8, where no LCM pill, no type of other fluid can able to stop the formation damage. Now, this technology has been inducted for the 6 wells in 2016-17, 3 in the Hira field and 3 in the Mumbai High North, which evaluated and found that there is no damage in the formations and that there is an immediate production benefits. That is, while drilling itself, you are producing very high. Now, if you compare it with the nearby wells, it has a production of 2x and its sustainability is also very high. As on date also, it is producing. The main advantage of this technology is the real-time reservoir management, which I will explain in the next slide. But the cost saves by virtue of the mud, highly rig cost time, logging, and wellbore cleanup, and stimulation is also not required. Just you see then in this slide, previously we have started the well, one of the well with the base oil of almost 6.8 equivalent mud in one of the field of north, where the pore pressures is of nature of 6.8. We can able to drill this well in one go with highest production over on that platform, namely N22, and sustain it.
2 minutes more.
Okay, ma'am. So this is the see that you have a water cut part. You can able to see that immediately you will find the water cut and you can able to stop the drain hole from there itself. Now, this is one of the technology which is recently inducted for the 6 casing well drilling, which is almost world's first time 30-inch, 20-inch, and it has given a good result. There is no as such HSC incident because of it can avoid the 30-inch piling. Another is the MMO and the EM, that is energized microbubble, which give us the solutions to drill in the loss conditions. That was a great advantage on this. Now, if you see the, you see that our drilling difficulty index and ERD ratios are day by day increasing because we have to drill across infill wells, and which is a very tough time to us. So induction of technology plays an important role. And few of the challenges, what we are seeing is in exploratory drilling in the HPST models, HPST, and especially HPST casing and liner cementations was a really challenge to us. Now in development front, we have some issues on the drilling through the depleted reservoir, for which we are already planning it and we are doing it. Now, infill, as I've already told you, infill hydrift wells is a really challenge to us. Preparation of the sidetracking, the same more than 3 times. Servicing of the well bores, same well bore is serviced more than 3 times. And reaching deeper to the depleted zones is really a challenge to us. Now, digitalizations is also one part, which I have already told you that we are already to narrowing the gap and passing the experience of the digital worlds to the new generation crew, and to reduce the gap between the old and new crew presently what we have. Now, last slide is way forward in the indigenations. We are already started for indigenization of the service providers in the terms of drilling fluids. Major service providers like whipstock, casing well drilling, and liner well drilling also is in the, we are taking it from the Indian vendors, and drilling and production equipments, and some part we are already started using it. And if you see that the present as on date, ONGC is in the GEM is almost spending 3,807 crore across this. So with this, thank you. We are looking ahead for all service providers to participate in the challenges what we have, and you can able to complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Desai, for your very informative talk. Am I audible? I hope so.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're audible.
So thank you, Mr. Desai, for your very informative talk on the existing status of E&P services, though it is talked about in ONGC, but I think you are representing all the operators in the industry. So this is the status from the operator's point of view. And I think you have already shown the challenges to the service operators, what they are expected to come up with to meet the target. Thank you, Mr. Desai. Thank you very much. Our
Thank you, ma'am.
I would now invite Mr. Raj Chandak from Halliburton. Mr. Raj Chandak is the Country Service Manager, Production Solutions at Halliburton. He will be talking about the role of service sector in maximizing India oil and gas assets. So over to you, Mr. Chandak.
Good
Hi,
afternoon,
Raj. Can you
everyone.
please share your screen?
Good afternoon, everyone. Is my screen, am I audible? So good afternoon, everyone. As Mr. Chaitali mentioned, I'm Raj Chandak from Halliburton, and I'll be talking about the role of service sector in maximizing Indian oil and gas assets. Going forward, just we'll look at the agenda, what I'll be covering. We'll look at the overview of Indian oil and gas industry as of now. We'll look at current production levels, where we are at, and what's the forecast for India's oil and gas and energy demand overall. And we will look at service sector, how we can improve or enhance these assets by providing the latest technology and the required support which is needed to bring up these assets to their optimum levels. This is what our previous speaker, Mr. Amit Desai, spoke about. We can date Indian oil and gas industry to 1889, where it was first, when we started producing for the first time in Assam. We have approximately total reserves, as per the latest estimate, about 594 million metric tons and 1.3 trillion cubic meter of gas estimated. But still, we have, looking at the current size of our demand, we still import 82% of our oil and gas demand. Most of the fields where we are producing from are mature, and the production is on gradual decline as per the nature of these fields. If you look at the map on right, where it shows different category of basin, as Mr. Desai also mentioned, most of them are yet to be explored, and we have category 1 basins, which are the primarily producing basins in India. So this, if you look at the current production profile and production data from 2014 to 2020 up till now, if you look at total onshore production data from 18.58 million metric tons, we have currently it's at 12.35. There's a gradual decline on these fields, and these are all fields which have been producing for a lot of time. And same is the situation for offshore, where there is a gradual decline in production. And India's energy demand is going to increase. We are a growing nation, and with this, the future, we will have to increase our reliance or self-reliance as projected or as is visioned by our Honorable Prime Minister. And with this, the forecast we are looking at currently, this is the forecast from IEA, which suggests that from 2020 to 2040, India's energy demand is going to double. And India is going to be the fastest growing economy, and fastest growing demand for oil and gas is going to increase. I'll just take a couple of minutes to introduce. I mean, 2020, if you look at the slide, where oil and gas is just contributing about, in terms of oil equivalent barrels, it is approximately 0.25 billion tons of oil equivalent. Though the energy demand is going up, oil and gas share is going up from 0.25 to 0.4, and the other alternate energy sources might compensate for this increase in demand. However, these are ever-evolving technologies, and what future holds, I mean, there could be a shift, but one thing is sure, that our oil and gas demand is going to increase. Projections are from current 4.8 million barrels per day of oil, which we consume currently. we can go up to 7.2, which is almost 50% increase in oil consumption. Just if we sustain the current level for 20 years, then also our import will be at 88%. So from 82% currently, we might increase to 88%. Gas demand, as gas economy is going to increase, and in a previous session, ma'am mentioned that gas is going to be the bridge between sustainable energy to the current conventional energy. So our gas demand is going to increase from 64, is projected to increase from 64 billion cubic meter to 133 billion cubic meter. So it is evident that our gas and energy demand and oil and gas demand is going to increase, and how we can sustain these demands is going to be a challenge for complete nation. A lot of this increased demand might be offset by alternate energy, example, renewables, geothermal, and the new upcoming energy topics. But in absolute terms, which we use, oil and gas demand is also going to increase. The expansion in oil and gas, as discussed previously, is going to be approximately of 100% over the period of 20 years. It is very important for service sector to adapt and cater to these increasing demands. And the primary sector which we can contribute to is find ways and methods to increase production from existing assets which are already available, and a lot of data is already available for these fields. And the second probably would be to have more technological development in identifying new fields and bring them on production. And how soon we can do it, the time will be of great essence in these technological developments. So where we can play service sector's role basically lies with these three themes. First is to look at mature field solution. Mature field are declining, and these fields decline over a period of time as the reservoir pressure decreases, as the energy and the fluid is pushed up. So over a period of time, it's a natural trend for these assets to decline. But how can we extract optimum oil from these existing assets is the key. So use of enhanced oil recovery methods, which are already established and have been implemented at various other fields, can be successfully added. Recently, a lot of field in the Rajasthan region have been implemented with enhanced oil recovery. This has to be a sustainable and a measurable method where we have to look at increasing production and the cost benefit of it. I mean, the technology has to be cost viable for it to be implemented on a level where it can have an impact on the increasing energy production. More discoveries in existing field, identifying new pay zones in already existing fields which are producing for a long time. We see these fields keep on adding. I mean, the fields are producing for almost 5 decades now, and we see continuous addition of new plays every year. So these fields have been able to sustain and decline at a rate which is acceptable, and more discoveries of such nature should be added to maintain these levels and have a decline. Difficult proven assets. We have proven assets where HPHT, deep water, ultra deep water, where technology induction is important, and these assets can be monetized in cost-effective manner. The implementation of or development of technology and deployment of such technologies in these fields hold a key where we can increase production at a great rate. One thing is digitization of available data. A lot of data is available in hard format, and this digitization process which DGH has undertaken is a great step towards having a center for data where all the data is available in digital form and can be utilized from anywhere and available for purchase. So that is one process which service sector can definitely help in collating and centralizing the data. New field development. So as we have seen in the previous slides that most of the area in category 3 and category 4 basin is unexplored, and we need to support operators by providing cost-effective methods and technologies so that exploration in these areas can be undertaken. Implementation of proven technologies and unconventional plays, which have shown a significant increment in different countries, different other countries. We have seen shale play to work out very well for the United States, where uh, they were able to increase production in last 1 decade to a significant level. And I would also want to point out a way where we can improve or develop technologies which are specific for Indian needs and can be deployed in India first. And to do that, as service sector, we have to have cost-effective method, as I mentioned earlier, also that these technologies can be implemented in a way where operator and service companies can work together in maximizing and these assets. Expansion of RTOC scope and smart technology. RTOC is real-time operation control. So this smart technology where fields can be controlled or smart rigs can be developed, and all control physical presence on field can be minimized to reduce human exposure, better control on equipment, and this development, the technology already exists and need to be modified for Indian scope and to be deployed. One of the major factors is local talent development. As we are going to increase and we are talking about 2050 scope or vision, local talent development is very important. We have to have talent which can work in all these proven difficult fields, HPHT, deep water, ultra deep water, which reduces cost significantly, and also the time of deployment. So it is a fast moving, it provides faster solutions for existing fields, and this talent is going to basically move and produce for these assets. One of the technology we are talking about Vision 2050, and the future has to be environmentally friendly and sustainable. So the couple of technologies where service sector can give our inputs is CCUS, which is carbon capture, utilization, and storage, and geothermal. These two technologies will hold very important role in the coming future, where the CO2 in terms of CCUS, where CO2 is captured from the atmosphere and injected in zones or stored in zones where it is allowed. I mean, it is technologically feasible. Uh, the ideal solution for carbon dioxide storage would be to inject it and to produce more oil, but this is not feasible in terms of the demand. I mean, we have more CO2 than the CO2 required to be injected in these zones for EOR activities. So the best solution will be to find place where this carbon technology or carbon can be stored for a long duration of time safely. And then utilization of geothermal energy, which already exists, use the heat available and where we can utilize our HPHT expertise to produce technology for geothermal activities, where steam is injected into the reservoir. Water is injected into the well, and we have the output of steam, and that steam can be used to generate electricity. It would be a sustainable model, and we have to look at these technologies for future and have a have a way forward in implementing these technologies in our areas. Uh, one of the key reasons will be one of the key factors will be also to look at sustainably cease production from the existing field. All these depleting fields will have to be plugged and abandoned, and service sectors will have to play an important role in seizing or plugging these wells successfully and safely as far as possible. And virtual support and local. With this technology, and especially we are looking at the conference itself, we are providing virtual support. So any expert globally can be available uh, at any point of time to virtually support any technical challenges which we might face during operations, and local sourcing of goods and energy. And Mr. Desai also mentioned that a lot of the work ONGC and other national oil companies have done to increase local sourcing in oil and gas sector, especially in OFS. With this, I conclude and I thank the forum and the organizers for providing me the opportunity to speak on this. Thank you. Thanks, Sanan.
Thank you, Raj. So now, Ms. Dutta, are you online? Ms. Datta, you're on mute. Thank you for the previous presentation, Raj. Ms. Chaitali Datta, who's the session chair, she's having some technical difficulty, so she's joining back. In the meantime, we have the next presentation by Mr. Ashish Sanan from Baker Hughes. Ashish is a senior service delivery manager with Baker Hughes Company, India. He's currently managing integrated operations. He holds 14 plus years of operations, project management, sales, and field work experience. He'll be sharing his expertise on using remote services in India to support global operations. Ashish, the floor is yours, please.
Yeah, thanks, sir. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to present amongst this distinguished gathering. As the topic, aptly suggests, and I think the chair also this afternoon or morning mentioned that, the upskilling and the use of technology within the oil and gas industry is the future. On the same terms, we'll be continuing with how Baker Hughes is using remote services in India to support global operations. First of all, what is the remote services and what does the setup look like? So remote services means that you are able to execute the jobs that you want to do in the field by not sending the number of people that you would conventionally be willing to send to the field, and instead getting the job done through remote facilities. Of course, we've seen, with COVID and the last 2 years, this thing has become something that we really need to be prepared for, and an extremely important part of the execution and the future of the industry. So the remote services functions with the flow of data. As you can see on the slide, the data from the rig site is transmitted and displayed in the remote center, where it is received, and Baker Hughes personnel then have the capability to instruct or remotely execute commands to computers and further to the equipment at site, thereby leading to the execution of the job at the well site without having, like I said, the traditionally required number of people present at the well site. So this slide talks about the traditional versus the remote model. As you can see, in the traditional model, we would have, let's say, something like a 4 to 6 man crew for each services available at the rig site. Let's say we had 3 rigs, so that would constitute to a total of somewhere around 12 people, and then, of course, 12 people to replace them as well. The remote operation now talks about field support and remote and directional and MWD support. So you can pretty much manage the entire show with almost half the number of people instead of having the usual crew at the well site. With these technologies, we are able to reman our field staff from dedicated field crews for each rig to just a small number of support engineers capable of rigging the surface equipment and handling of operations. As for the remote personnel, we are able to select the most competent and experienced people to support the operation and fill the remote operation centers, which we have strategically placed worldwide across many locations, one of them being in India, as I already marked. What are the benefits? So, of course, it's consistent, repeatable, without having any glitches in the delivery of the service. When you consider a multi-rig drilling program, reducing the number of critical decision makers in the overall process reduces the personal opinion variable as well. It enables us to more effectively incorporate lessons and best practices throughout the entire rig fleet. When we execute multiple wells simultaneously, it increases the exposure of the personnel towards different types of or kinds of jobs as well. increased collaboration by placing Baker Hughes personnel in close proximity to the operators. We inherently have more effective communication and improved decision making. Additionally, the drilling engineers and the superintendents at sites can have direct access to the service companies as well. Remote services gives the operators the ability to be face to face with their entire contractor staff, like on immediate basis, then and there. Of course, it reduces the footprint of the people at the personnel, and with the aggressive targets, environmental targets that the world and India has taken up, that also contributes to some extent fulfilling those. We have eventually, with this method, requirement for fewer people at the well site, which means reduced cost of operations, lesser environmental impact, and of course, reduced transportation and HSE risk. Now, why we talk about transportation and HSE risk is, if I just take a data of, let's say, Texas, from 2018, there were 229 motor vehicle fatalities on Permian Basin roads, and that increased to close to 300 by 2019. So we actually are able to have to put less people on the road to drill a well, and we significantly reduce the chances of getting into such accidents or mishaps even remotely. There is indirect benefit to other drivers as well. If you're not involved in any accident here, then you can't have any issues with the other people on the road either. And the final, as just discussed, this is the reduced HSE risk. Progress. So let's take data from 2019 to 2020. What we are doing is we have executed almost 55% of the total drilling jobs remotely. We are delivering services through the centers in India and abroad in 30 countries. If I talk in details, the geoscience team in India is supporting global operations from India, and the drilling optimization team is supporting global operations predominantly in the Minati region, and also integrated operations in Europe. We have a total of 20 such centers set up all over the world, with 2 functional in India, one in Mumbai and the other one pretty much remotely being operated from wherever we have competent engineers available. We have recently executed the first manless cementing job in Europe. We have also executed first manless directional drilling section in Europe as well. And we have a total competence of about 360 engineers and geologists who are multi-skilled, who are capable of running the remote services and delivering in similar manner across the world. And we have 100% connectivity with the Baker Hughes drilling operations worldwide as well. We are managing close to 300 shifts per day globally, and from within India, we are managing close to 10 to 20 shifts per day as well. Besides this, we have also set up design centers in Pune, through which, particularly with respect to drilling bits, we are designing drilling bits. We are incorporating latest technologies, latest learnings, latest lessons from the worldwide oil and gas industry, and we are delivering products designed from within India, which are catering to everywhere pretty much in the world after the product gets manufactured in other countries. We have also attained utilization of crews in quarantine. Quarantine has become a norm in the industry, particularly when COVID waves hit. So people who are in quarantine, if they are competent, we are using those people as well to run the jobs remotely, whether it's in India, whether it's outside India. We have already executed at any given point of time from within India, maybe 3 jobs on a daily basis. And we are also executing non-stop catering to global operations from within country on, like I said, roughly 300 shifts per day globally, but within India, 10 to 20. This has also helped us multi-skill the workforce into managing different operations. And it has actually reduced the load and improved the infrastructure, whether it's offshore and onshore as well. So that's about it. It's a short presentation. I hope I'm willing to take any questions if at all. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sanan. Thank you very much for your presentation. Your presentation, I think, included an added perspective of indigenous service sector, which you can even remotely operate for the in a global platform also. That and its advantages also. Thank you very much. Our the final speaker of this session is Mr. Jayant Malhotra. Mr. Jayant Malhotra has 33 years of experience in the oil and gas service sector working with Schlumberger. He is a graduate from the Delhi University and an MBA and an PMP. So over to Mr. Jayant. Mr. Jayant, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just confirm back to me that you can see me and you can hear me well.
Perfectly clear, loud and clear, sir. Please.
All right, and slide is visible as well, right?
Awesome.
Okay, so very good presentation. So first of all, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you Upstream Ahead for giving us the opportunity to present ourselves. We have seen some great presentations from Amit, Raj, and then from Baker. Absolutely fantastic topics covered. Now I want to take you back to a high level of the view of the industry. I thought the entire discussion was related to the vision of the 2050. That's where I focus my presentation on. All right. So I'm so mesmerized with what has happened in the past, and then I'm so curious about the future that I became a student. I've gone back to the university as well. Okay, part-time, but I've done that. So what I'm going to talk about is the strengthening the E&P service sector in India, focused on India. And before we do that, let's understand a few fundamentals. The 2050 vision that was presented, I think last year, and very, very competent people and very senior people in the ministry and the industry had jointly put it all together, I think under the aegis of the Niti Aayog. And it says the competitive domestic upstream industry can meet 50% of oil and gas demand by 2050. Now, the first thing that I want to mention here on the forum is, with all the learned people who are available on the call, is that, you know, oil and gas share in the energy basket is still going to remain very strong. Raj had presented in his presentation up to 2040, but I think 2050 is going to continue in the same trend that he has presented. So this is very, very important for us to understand that oil and gas or fossil fuel is not going to go away in our lives, in our children's lives, and probably our grandchildren's lives. Okay. Now, if that is the truth, then what are we talking about? So they said, this is not my vision, this is the vision of 2050. It says 4 times the current oil production and 5 times the current gas production. When we talk about 4 times the current oil production, we are talking about 3 million barrels of oil equivalent. I'm sorry about the K, it should be M. And 3.5 million barrel of oil equivalent of gas. This is huge, right? This is huge. Now, if we look at what happened in the last 10 years, let's say, or 20 years, this is from 2000 to 2021, I think. And this is from the energy intelligence, right? It's not my chart. And look at what happened. We were, for nearly 10 years, we were very consistent at one level, and then it peaked up between 10 and 12, and then we are seeing a very systematic decline, which means the last 20 years, the story has not been very good, all right? Now, I bring you to the Rystad data, and that is showing how is it looking till 2030. I'm sorry, they could only present up to 2030 at the moment. And you look at oil is going down, And if you look at the gas, which is right in the middle, just above the pink, that is swelling a bit, but it's not swelling enough, right? So if the game for the next 8 years looks to be what it is appearing on the chart, and from 2030 we need to go to 2050 and start to talk about so much more, it's not going to be easy, right? Which means we need to bring a paradigm shift into the oil and gas sector, paradigm shift. And we don't have time. We need to do it now. And whatever we need to do, we need to start working on it today. It should have actually happened yesterday, but we need to start to work on it today and then carry on that vigor to move forward. Okay. Now, of course, the question comes, and the people who have a very pessimistic view will always say that, look, if you guys were not able to do anything in the last 20 years and your next 10 years is still not looking dramatically good in order to get to the targets that you guys have, you know, it's not going to work. And I'm saying, no, that is not correct. It is definitely going to work. And why it is going to work, let me go to the next slide. It's going to work because there is no shortage of knowledge and there is no shortage of experience in India related to what is required to be done to make that objective possible. All right. Many people who are now the member of the Upstream head, these are very learned people who know inside out of their reservoirs. They know exactly what needs to be done, and therefore that knowledge has been very systematically passed down, and it needs to be passed down very systematically. If we look at the industry per se today, and you look at the mix that we have, and a CMD of ONGC was saying that the average age in the PSU is today 40 years. And every year that we are passing, the average age is reducing. That means more and more young blood, more and more innovative ideas, more and more the requirement for new innovative technologies and solutions. A new way of working is coming into the play, and it is combined with the digital technologies, which will help it work. So what is happening today, I see it very systematically. This knowledge and experience is being descended down, transferred down, layer by layer, all the way up to the bottom. And not only that, it is also an upward swing where the younger generation is bringing in all the innovation, all the technology access and everything together and pushing it up so that we bring it a common point of making it possible. The second thing is about resources and technologies. Now, if you look at in India today, in the last couple of years, every single top service company is in India, okay? They have set up Indian companies. They are collaborating with the local players, whether it's manufacturing, service provider, talent management, local resources, whatever is possible is fully getting engaged. Now, the thing is, we need to make it more visible. We need to make it more vigorous, and we need to bring in to the next level altogether and keep increasing it, okay? What does it need? It needs four things. It needs the will of the government, the will of the industry to be able to achieve that. If we have this combined will and we do whatever is required to be done, this objective is very much achievable. We need to significantly increase the exploration and production activities. Mr. Desai had presented very well, roughly about, I didn't get the math right, but about 500 wells that ONGC drill themselves. If we look at the industry wide in India, we are probably at about 600 wells. Now, 600 wells are helping us to get to 1.5 million barrels of oil equivalent, right? But if we want to go to 3, 4, 5 million barrel of oil equivalent, we need to significantly increase this exploration and production activity, which means we need to drill at least 1,500 to 2,000 wells. The current capacity today of about 120 drilling rigs have to move to 250 drilling rigs tomorrow. Instead of 50 workover rigs, we need to go to 150 workover rigs tomorrow. And that's the kind of expansion that is required. This morning, I was completely mesmerized with some of the numbers that the senior leadership team of India were talking about. And one of the comments that came was to bring in an additional million barrels of oil. We will need about $60 billion of an investment. Now the question comes, do we have people? Do we have the resources? Do we have the investors ready to invest that money? Answer is yes. Okay. There are very, very big companies which are willing, including the national oil companies, which are willing to spend up to a $60 billion of an investment into the country to ensure that every million barrel of oil or oil equivalent is added to it. But what do we need? We need a legal and fiscal platform to enhance that, to make it possible to perform. And all of us together, whether we are a national oil company or we are a private company, independent company, or a multinational E&P company, doesn't matter. What we need to learn jointly together is the art of effective utilization of our resources and technologies that are available today. Let me tell you, we have today in India all the technologies and the skill sets that are required today to start working towards this journey of achieving the 2050 goal. The technology pieces keep increasing and will keep coming down the road. What we need is a mindset to be ready to accept it. What is the overall purpose that we are looking at? The overall purpose that we are looking at it is, what can we do to enhance our exploration success, and what can we do to enhance our production? A combination of the two together will bring the E&P sector up. Now I go to the next piece, which is pretty much a last slide, a little bit busy, so please give me, excuse me for too much of text, but I will go through this very, very quickly. What do we need to do in terms of a standardization? We need to get to the international level of quality, right? We need to make sure we are all coming on a platform. In fact, this morning they were talking about setting up an oil and gas club. This club will not only bring in the policymakers, the regulators, the operators, and the service companies together, but it will also set up standards of maintenance, because that is very much and paramount if we want to have a very efficient oil and gas service sector contributing to the national production increase and resource base increase. So we need to raise the quality bar significantly, all right? And we are talking about quality of products and services. We need to raise the performance bar. Today, sometimes it's a tick box. I've drilled 50 wells. That's not enough. We need to drill 50 wells that produce, right? Today, drilling a development well which is dry is a crime. We cannot afford that at all. So we need to keep moving further. Instead of 1 to 6 as an exploration success, we need to work a lot more in the pre-work to ensure that our success rate increases 1 to 2. If not, every well is a success, right? Raise the technology selection. Today, it is the least denominated system, which means whenever there is a tender that comes out, people look at it. What is the common least denominator? That means what is the minimum level of a technology that we require so that we have multiple bidders for this? Now, if we continue to work in this thought process, we will keep bringing the technology levels down. We can't afford that, and we don't have time for that. And the oil price is big enough that we don't really have to do it. So we need to go to highest denominated products and services scale. All right. We need new commercial models. The traditional models of doing transactional activity is not good enough. And Mr. Desai very aptly had already mentioned that we need to have an integrated model. Now, integrated models needs to be something where the KPIs, key performance areas, are aligned with the operator's requirement. Service sector cannot come up with its own set of KPIs. It has to be the ones which are associated with the operators' KPIs, which could be around well construction, production services together, reservoir performance, and digital and integration. Each piece can be looked at it separately and worked on it. Now, if I go to the industry level, we need to set up the exploration club. And I was very glad to hear about the club, the oil and gas club that they were talking about in the morning. But even within that, we need to have a very strategic focus on exploration separately, because the requirement and demand is very different compared to the production. We need some service hubs, and service hub maybe is just a suggestion. And there is one that was presented by Mr. Anand Gupta this morning, which was related to Northeast. Now, why do we need this hub? We need this hub. Yes.
2 minutes, please. Yeah.
Yes, it's done. This is my last slide, ma'am. So we need a service hub. We need offshore, Northeast, rest of India, so that we can cater to. And when I say hub, it is not just related to a Halliburton hub or a Baker hub or a Schlumberger hub or somebody else's hub. It's a hub which is jointly together. So what we need to strengthen our local collaboration with manufacturing, services, support, and ancillary services. All these pieces fragmentally are available today. We need to enhance and bring it all together under one umbrella. Set up India level OFS portal, set up standard GTCs, for example, but most critically, we need a fair and transparent level playing field for all, where the objective of the entire service industry should be to help our customers become successful. And my last comment, the whole purpose of this for the next 40 years is going to be and should be 30 years is going to be and should be, how can we reduce the cost of find and how can we reduce the cost of production in such a way that it become a sustainable story for all, including sustainable in the carbon footprint. Thank you very much for your time and opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Jayant. Your talk has ushered in a different dimension, saying, yes, we can do it to attain the 2050 goal. Mainly as you talk that we need the will. So thank you very much. Thank you for your talk. And Mr. Prasenjit, may I request you to now address the question and answer session, please, if there are any questions?
Ma'am, there are no questions. So I think once you formulate your notes, you can right away, sum up the session, please.
Okay, I will do it because almost with every speaker I have done it. I have summed it up a little. So I will just now consolidate it and I'll do it. So I go. So the summary, I'm audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
So as the session chair, and after hearing all the 5 speakers, my observation is that the first very initial observation is that this session was an exquisite basket of various perspectives and views from across the industry, including that of Government of India. We had observation from DGH, that is MOPNNG, operator and service provider. In fact, this was the purpose of this summit, to understand the requisites or the requirements of the society or the environment at large, and the nation at large, rather, which was ably brought out by Dr. Gupta from DGH. He spoke about the ambitious program of government and how he feels can be supported by service provider by creating a service hub, which also Mr. Jayant Malhotra also spoke about it now. And this creating a service hub will be a win-win situation for all the operators, public service providers, and the government as well. So that is what was brought out from that was the ministry's point of view, the DGH's point of view. Trailing to Mr. Gupta's talk was Mr. Amit Desai's talk. And Mr. Amit Desai, as I also told earlier during his, when he ended his talk, that though he brought out the statistics and the status of service sector in ONGC, but he represented the entire operators' views, the operators of the E&P sector, their views. He brought out very explicitly the status of service sector prevailing in the industry. As an operator, he faces it. At the same time, he also brought out what he needs, what he means the operator, what the operator needs from the service industry. This will turn out to be a food for thought to the service industry, I think. Then we had 3 presentations in line from service provider, Halliburton, Schlumberger, and Baker Hughes. Mr. Chandak from Halliburton brought out very categorically and pointed role and responsibilities of service sector while supporting the operators to maintain their asset value. He has discussed the technical challenges as well. He also categorically brought out an important aspect of upskilling of workforce and carbon footprint, because we are mostly we talk of induction of new technologies and technological upgradation, but which is very important is the upskilling of workforce, and of course carbon footprint is going along with all the aspects of advancement. But upskilling of workforce is very, very important, which Mr. I think Chandak has brought out, Chandak from Halliburton. In fact, I had noted down while the presentations were going on. Then Mr. Sanan brought in the perspective of indigenous development of services, which I think is in line with our Honorable Prime Minister's views also, indigenization of everything. So this is an indigenization of service sectors as well. But what additionally he brought out is he not only talked about indigenization alone, but then in the using of these services in global platform as well as its advantage, and he also brought out the advantages of using it in global platform. Then the final speaker was Mr. Jayant, who spoke about collaborative efforts of all professionals from service sector and operator to have a sustainable growth. And as I also told in the end of his talk, that he spoke about, yes, we can do it. So that is the main thing. Yes, we can do it. And the second thing for sustaining the 2050 goal. And another main thing what he talked about is the will. The other things are okay about the technological advancement, creating a hub. But the will, which is very, very important, we all know it. But this is what has been very explicitly talked about. So this is about the summation of all the 5 speakers, the presentation of all 5 speakers. And I think the audience have enjoyed it a lot. But as a chair, I would finally, I would like to say just one thing, that the purpose of this summit was to understand, as I said, understand the requirements of the industry, what we want, and how do we sustain the growth. So I think that we should not end up with this summit here only. Whatever we have got today, these points have to be well deliberated by maybe forming, I do not know what the others will be thinking who are in the chair, who are in the job and in the chair and in the decision-making process. But from an external source, what I feel that we should deliberate it, we take it further, we form maybe a group because if I don't want to use the word committee, because there are a lot of committees, maybe we can form a group where people from all across, like from DGH, from server operator, from service provider, and even the seniors who are not there in the job, their experience, because Mr. Jayant Malhotra was also, I think Mr. Jayant only was also talking about percolation of knowledge to the lowest bottom. So for that, the experienced people, all they form a group and carry this forward. Whatever we have talked today, whatever I can call it tips that we have got from the our experienced people, the operators, the service providers, from ADDGH. So we can all bring together, deliberate it, and carry it further. That's all I would like to say and close my talk here. Thank you.